Chunak is a lot like a duck. He's swift, evasive, and a great warrior. However, this is where the similarities end. While ducks are majestic species, bringing joy to the youth of many villages all over our expansive planet, Chunak is an agent of evil, bringing ruin to the poor fire players of War of the Visions. Did you know that the average fire player is told their element is bottom tier at least twice per day? I couldn't believe my ears at the end of a family dinner the other day when I hugged my mother goodbye and she whispered in my ear, "Get wrecked, Raldor." Therefore, I am calling on all War of the Visions players to boycott Chunak, and more importantly, all water units. I feel like we can really make this happen. Let's affect change. All right, everybody, jokes aside, we do need to get this boycott started immediately. I think it can start with Chunak, and looking forward, there's plenty of good water units that we can all skip. But before, you make that decision, I'll just tell you a little bit about Chunak, because guess what? You're probably going to be skipping him anyway because he's not that good, right? So we'll talk about who he's strong against, who he's weak against, some pros and cons, all the usual stuff. I've got like an Evasion comparison thing that we'll look at, and then you can make your decision. I'll tell you my final verdict as well. So let's get into it. So when we're looking at Chunak specifically, thinking who he's strong against, there isn't anyone that really jumps to mind aside from who would water / be strong against in general, right? So who would Astrius be strong against? Because he is a slashing unit and he has some slash penetration. Now with Chunak, I think you really do want his vision card that just came out because it gives him a lot. It gives him some extra damage and some extra evasion, which he actually kind of needs. So there is one unit in particular. We just talked about Halloween Lucia. She's got a fantastic physical HP barrier and she can put on Protect as well. Well, Chunak has a skill just like Agrius that strips both of those things. And the downside to that is that Halloween Lucia has a bunch of 100% hit attacks, so she's likely to kill Chunak anyway, although maybe there's a case to be made that if you have a tank like Celas, that he'll be protected with his AoE resistance and things like Runic, etc. So he'll also be strong against your fire units. We don't really need to talk about that. I briefly alluded to that in my unbiased intro to Chunak, but otherwise I don't see any like big targets that I would say he's really strong against. And if you have an idea of some that I missed, then please go ahead and share that. Now, the second question is, who is Chunak weak against? And it's anybody with 100% hits and honestly anybody with good accuracy, because he's not the most evasive unit around. He does have the power to build lots of AoE resist. So hopefully if he's getting hit, he's surviving, but still he's just, when we look at a lot of evasive units, he's not really up there in terms of evasion. So really it's against anybody that's going to be able to hit him. That's a big deal. All right, so the pros for Chunak, and there are some good pros here, is that he has pretty high attack for an evasion attacker, and it gets even better if you use his vision card because he gets defense penetration, a bunch of slash resist penetration, and he has some on his kit as well, and that's going to be his best bet for dealing significant damage. He's also got pretty good mobility because he's got a base 2 jump, and you can increase his mobility with a TP skill. His LB is one of the most important things on his kit because it has a single target imperil and also has a chaining. It has 3 hits, which means it's going to be really good for rainbow PvP and PvE. So if you're using him in any sort of circumstance where you need to use other element units, the single target imperil will be good for all of them. And in PvE specifically, he's got so many chaining skills on his kit in general that he's going to be a really strong PvE unit. I already mentioned that he has the Dispel, Protect, and Physical Barrier on one skill. That's a really big deal. He also has decent defense, spirit, AoE, and single target resistances to survive against 100% hits. So I don't think he's just going to get totally whomped by all 100% hits, especially ones that come from pierce attacks, but he is susceptible to, certain damage types, namely slash and magic, because those are his 2 lowest resistances. Now, he also has steal time for PvE. He has AP drain for manual PvP, and his TMR is a really good luck and attack boost on it that has 2 uses. So there's a lot of cool utility that you can get out of him, and it's mostly on the PvE side, but certainly he's a great unit to pick up later on an off banner, not necessarily necessarily one that you're going to be pulling for. All right, so we just talked about the pros, right? You're in this positive mindset right now. So let's keep that going and like the video, right? Just hit the button, and then it helps me out, helps the engagement, and then my videos go, that's my video shooting into the atmosphere, because it's gonna. So now we'll talk about the cons for Chunak. Really, I've covered them already. The fact that he doesn't have the best evasion stat in the game, and I would also put in there that he just straight up doesn't have courage or re-raise, and that is a really big con when you compare him to the other evasive units that generally have one of those two things, and that's a big part of surviving. He also I think he really needs his global buff VC to maximize his damage and his evasion. So that's definitely, it's not really a con, because if you're playing water, let's face it, you're picking up that VC. So unless you really stay away from water slash, but then you're not pulling for Chunak. So if you pull for him, pull for his VC. Okay, let's compare him to other evasion units. And what I've done is I've made a kind of little chart here with the agility, luck, and evasion of all these other units. And you can pause the video and examine it at your leisure. But basically, you can see that on average, he's got lower agility than most of these units and lower luck than most of his units. His passive evasion from a passive skill is at 12. And these other units have things like not only passives, but they also have mastery ability evasion that boosts them up a little bit more, like Frederica and Locke both have mastery ability evasion. Shadow Lynx has some, and so does Zazan. And then when you look at Valentine Ildira, she's got typed evasion. So that's the T evade there. That's 25% slash, and I think it's missile. I'm just going off the top of my head here, but 2 type evades that will help her out in certain matchups. And I'm not doing the calculations here. I know that I probably should. Maybe I'll work that in for my next evasion comparison video, but I just wanted to get this out. So next time I'll bring you a flat evasion percentage, and then you can go from there. But I think it's clear that he obviously is lower at evasion than these other units. However, he does have access to one of the best evasion buffs around, which is Shadow Cast. It's a thief sub skill, and it is 42 evasion for 3 turns, which is pretty wicked. The problem is that you're using thief sub and maybe in PvP, and I think you probably want to use some of his other TP skills. He has a lot of good ones. I mean, if you're really going hard on the evasion thing and you're trying to come up against high accuracy units, then you're going to do what it takes. But I think he's more like evasion light for PvE, and for PvP and metas where we're having, some people that aren't as accurate. Like if you come up against a fire team with Satya and some other units, then yeah, he's going to be just fine. But he's already going to be fine because he's a water unit. All right, so this is a simple one for you all. Should you be pulling for Chunak? Yeah, no, you shouldn't. Don't pull for him unless you're a big fan of water, you're a collector, or if you are a big PvE player, then actually he would be a pretty good pickup to increase your PvE chops. Otherwise, I think it's just really safe for most players to just pick him up eventually on a select ticket if you're a spender, or just hope that he comes to you eventually on an off banner if you're free to play, and that's totally fine. And when he eventually comes and you slow build him, he's gonna put some work on your account, but he's just not going to be someone that you should be spending Vizier on. That's certainly easy to say. All right, that's going to be it for this video. And I think it was a productive one because we established a few things, right? So we know that Chunak, don't pull for him, but also that we're boycotting water units. That's what we're doing as a community. We're coming together. It's a really positive thing. I can really feel the energy from you all, and I appreciate that. So let's go ahead, spread the word, tell everybody and we'll make this happen. And I just feel real good about the War of the Visions community right now, and what we can do together if we put our heads and our hearts together. Anything's achievable, anything's possible. And you can, maybe someone can screen cap that, put the caption there, like Mysidia 2022. I think that would be pretty cool. Otherwise, I'll see you all in the next video soon enough. I think I'm going to do another video about these typed VCs that are coming out because someone requested it. So I'll be working on that at some point. And then otherwise, we'll see what else comes up in the next week or so. All right. See ya.